Hello, everyone. I'm Kim Crabill on set with the Coffee with Kim show. We're back in California filming a brand new series. You're not going to believe who's stopping by for coffee. Come on in, join us.
And I've got the joy deep down in my heart. I'm waking up with your love from the start. I'm chasing the rainbow through the rain. I know it's gonna be a beautiful day.
There are many ways a life can be turned upside down. We can think of many devastations, disappointments, diagnoses. Rarely would you think of a diving accident. But for today's guest, that's exactly what happened. This active young college student became a quadriplegic, confined to a wheelchair, wondering what his future was now going to look like. But his tragedy did something that, again, few of us would expect. This tragedy drew him closer to God and set him on a new path that is going to surprise and delight you. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee, conversations of friends of faith to encourage and equip. I'm Kim Crabill, your host. I am so pleased, honored, and actually can't wait to introduce you to a storyteller, urban farmer, creator of Christian comic books, and a worshiper of a big God who can bring triumph from tragedy. When we return, you'll meet the incredible, awe-inspiring Mario DeMatteo.
Kim Crabill knows all about hidden shame and regret. From the time she experienced a life-altering trauma at age 4, Kim became an expert in hiding her hurt and confusion. The trick she discovered was to sing a little louder in church and to smile a little wider with friends. In her transparent story, Burdens to Blessings, Kim invites you along the journey from shame and sadness towards healing and hope. In the process, you'll encounter the upside-down truth that God uses you because of your hurt and uncertainty. Order your copy of Burdens to Blessings right away at Amazon.com or simply go to www.kimcrabill.org and click on the Shop button. Discover the confidence and courage to be you again, and discover the power of your story. Along the way, you'll help other hurting people change their burdens to blessings.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee. Oh, do we have an incredible show of hope today. I cannot wait to introduce you to my new friend, Mario. Hello, thank you for coming. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Kim. Thanks for having me.
What a story you have. So for those who don't know, can we share a little bit about your story? Can we go back and talk about the diving accident?
Definitely. So I was 20 years old. I'm 37 now, so it's crazy to say that it's been 17 years almost. I was a college student at Point Loma Nazarene University. I was playing soccer, and I thought I had my entire life figured out, like a lot of us think we do when we're that young. And I was on a surf trip in Costa Rica on my summer vacation, and on the last day of the trip, I dove into a dark, shallow swimming pool, exactly what my mom warned me not to do my whole life growing up. Don't dive into swimming pools. And I hit the bottom of the pool, and I immediately knew that I was paralyzed. My arms weren't working, and I was still awake. And I remember just saying, oh my gosh, I'm paralyzed. And my friends, thank God, I was bleeding a little bit. And my friend at the pool side saw that I was bleeding and dove in and pulled me up. And one of a lot of weird little miracles, but he had just learned CPR 2 weeks before, and he was the only one at the pool that knew CPR, and he revived me, or else I think I would have died or had major brain damage. And for the next 3 to 4 months, I was in the hospital, flew back to California, and my whole life changed in a matter of seconds.
In a matter of seconds, the whole thing changed. Well, I'm so sorry about that accident, but look what God has done with it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I know so many people that have had traumatic accidents like that and were not able to really come through it. What helped you get through this?
That's a great question. I thank God that I have an amazing family and friends. That was a big part of just being there for me, and then we have an amazing big God. And right when I feel like immediately when I got hurt, God filled the ambulance room, filled the ambulance ride, this bumpy road all the way to the hospital, was in the hospital with me. I woke up and there was a nurse speaking Spanish by my bedside, holding my hand, praying. That's what I woke up to, and I thought I was dreaming, and I wasn't. She ended up coming in 2 or 3 more times throughout my stay there and praying with me in Spanish. So right from the beginning, I knew that there was this really amazing God that had a plan for this and that was going to work through it. So I was lucky in that regard. I think if I didn't have God, it would have been a lot harder to deal with the initial shock of it, and then going through the 3 months and then years of trying to figure out how to live in a wheelchair, which is very challenging for anybody. It's some people just think, or I'm in a wheelchair, but it's just getting clothes on or socks, or everything is amplified and is harder. So God's been really good throughout this whole thing, and I've never really lost faith, and I think it's only grown in my understanding that there is a huge God that has big plans for us.
And so many times it's not the plan that we thought, right?
Oh, yeah.
He has a way of changing it. Take me for just a minute for the people who are listening. I don't want them to think that, you had this accident and God is good and boy, everything was just great.
Yeah.
You've had to have some times where you really struggled and you really had to have some real strong conversations with God. Take us into some of those moments for some of those who are struggling, that just need to know what you did in some of your darkest times.
Yeah, that's a really tough, when we're dealing with hopelessness, and I've felt hopeless and still feel hopeless, and I thank you for asking that question, because it hasn't and isn't this wonderful sunny shining day all the time. Every day I have to wake up and know that I'm in a wheelchair and I need someone to help me get up every day, and come over to my house and say hi to my wife. And so that's something I have to deal with for forever. And I think in that deep, dark, hopeless moments, God has come in and has filled my heart and never let me feel like it was truly hopeless. And it's hard to give people advice on how to deal with their own hopelessness. I think for me, it's been just really relying on my family and on my friends, and on just knowing that God's there with us and has huge plans for us, and just holding on to that hope. I was given a book early on in my accident by Viktor Frankl called Man's Search for Meaning. He was a Holocaust survivor, psychologist, was doing work in the camps when I believe he was in Auschwitz or Dachau. And he saw that when people would lose hope, would see their loved one every day across the fence, and then they wouldn't be there any longer, that they would pass very quickly. And he came up with this theory, or helped develop a theory, that if we can find meaning in our suffering and find purpose in it, that it can give us supernatural strength to go through anything. And I would just hope to inspire people to really lean into their pain and not try to avoid it, but to be in the darkness. And I think that's where God really comes in.
That is so powerful what you just said. I know you just spoke so much hope into so many people's lives, because so many people are there for so many different reasons, especially after we've just gone through COVID and all the things that our world is facing right now. There is such a sense of hopelessness. I know the statistics of people who are, the depression, the suicidal rate, all that, and so that's why I just thank you so much for coming on the show, because what a light, what a testimony of what God what God can do. And I love what you said was, in my deepest despair, I just go back to God. It makes me think of King Jehoshaphat in the Old Testament when he says, I don't know how I'm going to win this battle, but I know one thing, I'll just keep my eyes on God. And that's what I think about when you tell that. Thank you for sharing that. Now, what you've been able to do with that, the creativity and what you are doing is amazing. And we're going to watch a short trailer, and then we're going to come back and talk about how you are so gifted.
Okay,
All right,
thank
we'll be
you,
right
Kim.
back.
Encouraging our kids to read books, let alone read the Bible, can be really tough, especially with social media, video games, and cell phones constantly competing for their hearts and minds. Did you know Christian comics and graphic novels can be a huge help? We created the Graphic Story Bible series to help families like you inspire your kids to learn about Jesus and help lead them to a life of faith with fun, engaging, and edifying Christian graphic novels. Our 2-book graphic novel series, Peter the Apostle and Paul the Apostle, take kids on an action-packed adventure through the New Testament and give kids real Bible heroes they can look up to in their own lives. We used awesome cartoon creatures, colorful comic book art, and futuristic lands to spark kids' imaginations and help them remember the many characters and stories of the New Testament. Our award-winning graphic story Bible series is pastor and mom approved, with Bible references at the bottom of each page to point your kids back to where all the awesomeness actually comes from, the Bible. The Graphic Story Bible series is perfect for 7-year-olds and up, boys and girls, comic book fans, reluctant readers, and anyone looking for a new approach to Bible reading with kids. Our prayer is the Graphic Story Bible series will help families like you inspire your kids to learn about Jesus and help lead them to a life of faith. Available now at BearTruthBooks.com, where each purchase comes with an awesome free printable activity guide offered exclusively at BearTruthBooks.com.
Now that's amazing.
Thank you.
That's absolutely amazing. How did this start? What turned your mind to go this way?
It actually started in the hospital room, Kim. I was given a book. I was given the Bible, Viktor Frankl, and a Silver Surfer comic compendium, a big book of all Silver Surfer comics. And that became the first in a long line of books that I fell in love with reading. I found solace in comic books for a few years. I was in my room a lot for that first 2 years. We didn't have a vehicle that I could drive yet, and so I was confined in there for a while and was watching a lot of movies and dove into comic books and stories and books. And it was during that period of time where a little seed, I think, started to plant about the power of comic books, and that was something that I wanted to be a part of in my life, and maybe I could do it. And it took many years before I really had faith that I could do it, but it was in that early moment where a little seed sprouted, I think.
Well, they're just amazing. I told
thank
you
you.
before, I ordered some, from my home, and
you.
we're doing some work at our home, and so we have a lot of grown men who are doing the work. And I walked in one day, and they were reading and enjoying it to the point to where actually they left one in some equipment, and it destroyed the back of it. So
Well,
you
that's
said
your copy
Yo,
right there.
thank you. But what I'm seeing is this is of course for children.
Yes.
But it's not just for children.
No, so we made it, and to be clear for people, it's the story of Paul the Apostle.
Yes.
And Peter the Apostle, but our
Yes.
first book was Paul, and we chose him because I felt really connected to him. He thought he had his whole life figured out, and on the road to Damascus, he was hunting down Christians, and God met him there and transformed his life. And for a long time, I was having this vision of Paul on a Star Wars-ish Mad Max vehicle hunting down Christians. He was Saul at that time. And that was the vision that stayed in my head for a long time, maybe years. And that's when I started developing the idea with some other artists, and I went to art school to try to figure out how to make it, and then went to, then I realized I'm not that great of an artist. I'm okay, but I'm a better art director. And then I went to Cal State San Marcos, near my home in San Diego, and learned how to tell stories and figured out how to really tell a captivating story. So it's the true story of Paul, but set in this futuristic universe. So kids can really, our hope is that it sparks in them a curiosity and a thirst for the gospel. It sparks in their imagination something that they might not immediately feel by just reading the book of Acts in the Bible, because sometimes it's hard for kids to get into it.
Absolutely. What a way to bring the Bible alive at the level of where they are, to make it interesting. You know, so many times as believers, I think that we forget that we're supposed to make it relevant to someone else. You know, that we can be maybe a little bit too dogmatic about things. And this, you're saying, you know, I care enough about kids, I want to figure out a way to where they're going to want to hear it. And we know the Bible says his word will not return void, so it's going to be doing a work. Did I hear in that trailer, did I hear it right? Did it say pastor and mom approved?
Yes.
I love that. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so we had a lot of pastors review our book, and as I was developing it, I had a pastor mentor that kind of came alongside us just to make sure that it was biblically accurate.
Yes.
On the bottom of each page, we have a scripture reference so kids can fact check it. A lot of funny stories come to us. One, a little boy is on the kitchen room floor, and he's reading the book, and he's captivated, and he looks up at his mom. He says, "Did Paul really fight a sorcerer?" And she immediately got a little concerned because she didn't remember the story, because it's really a couple, maybe 3 or 4 lines in the Bible, but it's this huge moment where he takes on this sorcerer in the name of Jesus and defeats him. Well, actually kind of brings this guy's mentor to Christ. So it's this really awesome moment, but that's the type of stuff that our book really does. It brings the whole thing to light in a way that animates it in their mind and helps them remember it too. That's one of the reasons we chose characters instead of humans, because there are so many characters in the book of Acts, and by having the characters look like how they are, little futuristic creatures, it allows them to comprehend the book more. And that was we really wanted it to be educational ministry tool. That was the core of it, but have it be fun and have something that kids can read on their own terms and take with them in their backpack, and it's not something that you have to read this.
Right. You're making the Bible cool.
Yeah, well, it's already cool.
Well, that's true, but I mean for an age that maybe doesn't think that.
Oh, yeah.
You're right. You're correct. Thank you for correcting me on that. You're absolutely right. So what are you hearing from moms and dads and people about the book? Tell me a story.
Yeah, we're really lucky to have a lot of really good fans, little children that love the book, that are waiting for the next one already. That's the one funny thing, is whenever you come up with something, they want the next one immediately.
Yes.
So a funny story, a touching story to me was we were at a homeschool convention. The homeschool community has really blessed us. It's really taken there in a way that I wasn't expecting. And a little girl came up and she got the book signed, and she went home, and her mom came the next day and said she read the whole book in the hotel room, and she wants you to sign the book again for her. Can you sign it again? And so she came up and she wrote this little note and gave it to me, and it's like my favorite fan letter. I just have it framed in my office. And so I signed her book twice.
That's amazing.
But yeah, the little kids are awesome, and I'm so blessed to be working with them and for them and alongside families, because we're in trouble in a lot of ways in our country or in the world with education system. They're showing that the attentions are decreasing at massive speed. Creativity is decreasing. They're controlled by their phones.
Yes.
And so this is a way that we hope that a child can take a break from their phone and their device and read traditional reading and just be captivated by something that we're really passionate about.
So that's your prayer. Is that your why? That was going to be my next question. What is your why? What do you at the end of the day, what is your deepest prayer for this? Because this takes a lot of work.
A lot of work. And a big team. I didn't make this on my own. I had many guys, Mark Harmon, Ishmael Castro, Ben Avery. So it was a group of gentlemen that helped me make this thing come to life. But my prayer is really that this book can help families lead their kids to a life of faith. It's really hard to get kids interested in the Bible. We're seeing a decrease in church membership amongst adults. So
Yes.
and if kids aren't interested in the Bible or have gotten some kind of message about Jesus by the age of 13, the likelihood of them coming to faith is slim. So we're in a war
Yes.
out there, and it's sometimes scary to say it, but the world wants kids to forget about the Bible, what I think. And the content that's out there's amazing content, and then there's a lot of really violent, sexualized stuff that just is super unhealthy for kids.
Yes.
And this is just hoping to equip families and churches with something that's just an extra little tool in their quiver to lead kids to Christ.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just think it's phenomenal. You know, what is
Thank you.
amazing to me is that you had every excuse to not do anything. You know, you could have just curled up and said, hey, you know, I'm not happy with life. But what you've been able to do with your life, and you're just starting, because when we get back from a commercial break, we're going to talk about what you're doing. But I just, you know, what a message. And if it's okay with you, I mean, like, what would be your message to someone right now who is, you know, just feeling like life is over? Nothing turned out the way they thought it was going to turn out. Their plan just like that maybe ended. Maybe it was a divorce. Maybe it was a diagnosis. You know, what do you say to them?
That's a great question, and it's a really hard question. I try to tell people that they are destined for something amazing and that there's a big plan for our lives. And I sometimes think that we get so caught up in the world and what the world wants of us, and we have this kind of a American dream instilled in our hearts that oftentimes doesn't work out how you planned, and you get despair and you're broken, and we all are broken. And I'm proof, and I know a lot of people that are doing amazing things in the world, that God really can work through our despair if we let him. And God has huge plans for us. We are amazing image bearers of him. So we were created by the most creative creator God. So it's in us to be creative. So even if you're not creative, I hope that I could inspire people to lean into maybe something that they're not used to doing and trying to be creative, because being creative, I think, opens up in us something that is from God, and it's almost miraculous. And I find a lot of that in the garden too. I don't want to start preaching about growing food, but I love growing food too, and that's another thing where just being able to participate in the creation is something amazing. So if you don't want to make comic books, maybe you can plant some tomato seeds.
There you go. I could do that, maybe. Of course, my husband tells me when he brings a plant home to me, it's like putting the plant on death row, because I am so not good with anything. But hey, that's a whole different show we'll do. We'll be right back, and we're going to talk about your upcoming projects. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Are you looking for a keynote speaker with a powerful message of hope? Consider inviting Kim Crabill. Her heart is to partner with communities to bring her transformational journey of burdens to blessings to your area.
Tune in on Mondays for the Coffee with Kim radio show with special guests and inspiring stories that are sure to make an impact. Search for Coffee with Kim on uptomeradio.com or catch it on demand on kimcrabill.org.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee. Well, if this show doesn't inspire you, I don't know what it would take, because this man is amazing, and what you're doing is amazing. And, you know, to see you without bitterness or anger, it just, you know, there are a lot of people who need to see what God can do. And I love that that's what you just illuminate, what God can do. But he is not finished. He's doing a lot. What are your projects that are coming up?
Yeah, there's some exciting stuff happening with this book. We're launching a campaign where we're asking our family and friends to partner with us to give these books out for free to kids in San Diego, and actually in Atlanta. There's a group in the Urban Youth Collaborative. We're partnering with them. We want to give this. My dream would be to give the book away to as many kids as possible for free, because not everyone can afford a $15 or $16 book. So that's one of our main kind of things I'm working on right now, is just inspiring people to see our vision and help partner with us.
Great.
And the other really cool, awesome project is we are in the process of turning Corey Ten Boom's The Hiding Place into a graphic novel.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's a huge blessing. We've partnered with Baker Books and chosen, they're a subsidiary of Baker, and they've bestowed on us a really we're blessed and honored and a little scared because we really want to honor Corey and Betsy and the Ten Boom life and show it in a way it's not with alien creatures. It's Corey is a human, and
Yes.
it's already coming out really beautiful, but it's a little, we're in the scared moment where it's a big project, 230 pages.
If
But
it's
it's-
not scary, hey, it's got to be outside
Yeah.
what you can do, right? So God can do it through you.
And she inspires me. There's a quote, and I'm going to misquote it, but in our deepest, darkest pit, God is still there. And I know I didn't get that quote right, but she's an inspiring lady. If nobody knows about her, I really encourage people to read the Hiding Place book, because it will inspire you. She was at the darkest pit in a concentration camp, facing death. Her sister's dead, her dad's dead, and she is holding on to God.
And you get to put that into a book. Good for you.
Thank
and I
you.
hear they came and chose you to do this, so good for you. What an honor. Before we end the show, would you please, we have just 15 seconds, tell people how they can help
Yep.
support this so that we can get these books into children's hands at
Thank you.
at no charge.
Yep, Bear Truth Books, that's BEAR Truth Books. That's where you can learn about the project, buy the book for your kids, or donate to our cause. It's a tax-deductible donation. We're partnered with a nonprofit that's legitimately in the trenches with kids, so we're not just going to be flinging them around. These are going to be targeted gifts.
Well, you can count on our ministry to support you, because this is amazing.
Oh,
and it was
thank you.
so great to meet you. And thank you
so much, Kim.
Thank you for being
Thank you.
here. Oh my goodness, we have surely been blessed by Mario's presence today, haven't we? Perhaps you're like me, overwhelmed with his vision to reach thousands of children across the world with the life-transforming message of Jesus, and in a way that appeals to their imagination and fosters a love of reading. And to think, this vision came at a time of total devastation in Mario's life. He could have chosen to stay in that sadness, but he allowed God to be bigger. Friends, this says to all of us that our stories, even in our deepest sufferings, can have a powerful testimony and reveal a great work. Thank you so much for joining us for coffee today. It has been an honor to be in your home, and I hope that you will tell a friend about Mario's story. Purchase his book, send in a donation. We all need more reminders that our God can transform tragedy into triumph. I look forward to seeing you next time on Coffee. Bye, everybody.